Good morning, everybody. I hope this is all working properly. Welcome back to Prologue Go Wayback, the search for performance. So, last time I basically struggled to get 60 frames a second. It's kind of possible, but it was a pain in the bottom, frankly. Now, to be sure, I normally run at a resolution 3440 by 1440, which is a fairly large screen, it has to be said. That is nearly 2.5 times the number of pixels of the much more common 1080p. So I thought it would be interesting to run it at 1080p, not just windowed, but on a 1080p monitor. In fact, that's what you're seeing here. As some of you may know, I have above my head here a 40-inch Hannspree that is 1080p at 60 hertz. I use it for YouTube videos and movies. It's fine for that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for gaming, but it's the closest thing I've got to a 1080p monitor. Amusing story, actually, when I bought this thing, I think it was from Laptops Direct. They actually called me to make sure I knew what I was getting, because apparently private individuals do not normally buy this kind of monitor, but I had a very specific use case. But they wanted to make sure I knew what I was getting into. Very kind of them, it has to be said. So, here we go. Now, curiously, you'll notice right at the moment it's running at a 600 and something odd frames per second. Yeah, ignore that, it doesn't count. And if I seem to be craning my neck more than usual, it's because my normal monitor is right at my eye line, and this is about 2 feet higher, so I've got to look up. So, let's see what we can squeeze out of a 1080p system. Now, it has to be said, right up front, I'm running a 9070, an AMD 9070, not overclocked, not XP, just a regular 9070. To give you a rough idea, it gives me approximately 20% performance improvement over my previous 780 OCXT, 7800, I should say. XT overclocked. 20%, and it uses less power. What's not to like? So let's see what we can do with this. Oh, now a couple of things. If you see my last video about this game, you'll notice that at the end, the landscape changed to completely flooded, which was kind of amusing. Now, what was odd about that was every single time I tried to run it after that, even creating new seeds, that's all I got. I got some really bizarre behavior. I ended up with rocks inside the house. I had a flooded house. The landscape was always flooded. I had to uninstall and reinstall the game, at which point the game decided it wasn't going to run, citing problems with the runtime Microsoft C++ distribution that it needed. Fortunately, I resolved that by changing the Proton to default. Don't forget, I'm running Linux through a compatibility layer. Right, having said all that, now let's see what we can do. Now, this preset you're seeing here for Epic, that is what typically runs. It also typically runs, anti-aliasing set to max. I've got the upscaler frame generation. It normally does the upscaler quality, and this is Epic. So that's about fairly typical for this thing. So let's see what we get. Yes, I want to do that. And let's start a new game. I'm not going to do the hike mode, the bit where you can walk around. Let's see what performance we can get. Like I say, this is 1080p set to Epic. I would expect it to be pretty good, to be honest. I mean, like I say, This is, my normal play screen is 2.38 times as many pixels. You would expect that it would do very well cranked down with a resolution like this. Let's see. Okay. I'm not actually going to play the game, just look at it and see what we get. And I will give you a rundown on what the performance is like as we go. So here we go. This is epic settings. Everything set to max. CPU is running quite hot, but not too bad. 38% CPU capacity. The graphics card is running at 85%. And got to bear in mind too, that's with me using hardware encoding as well. So the graphics card is not only doing the game, it is doing the streaming for me as well. And we are looking at, it's doing its typical thing. If I look in one direction, I'm getting under 60 frames a second. If I look in the other direction, I get 60, 70 odd frames per second. And this is epic. 90, 100. Now this, I am moderately convinced, and by the way, the GPU is running at about the same percentage of utilization regardless of which way I look. So 120 frames a second looking that way, and 83 on average, 83% GPU utilization. Look over this way, and we immediately drop by a significant amount. We're dropping to half the frame rate, and the GPU has dropped as well. So I'm not quite, this is performance we've seen before. Look one way, you get better performance than if you look the other way. But we haven't even gone outside yet. I imagine that will make a difference. I'm actually slightly surprised it's working as well as it does. Oh, look at this. This is a nice scene. I like this. Oh, yeah, that's actually pretty good. That's quite scenic. Yeah, I'm taking a screenshot. So now I'm down to 90 frames a second. The GPU is steady at a maximum of 85%. That looks quite nice. I don't know what it would be like with all the trees around. Wow, 140 frames a second. That's probably because there are no trees. That's quite respectable, I think. Sudo. Hello, Sudo. How are you doing? This is the typical, I'm doing anything I want to, it's the weekend kind of thing. So 140 frames a second, looking at rocks. Okay, let's go and have a look at the other way. Now, actually, if I face over this way, all right, we're starting to see a drop, but we're still getting... GPU utilization is just over 80%. And we are getting 68, 70 frames a second. Let's go and have a look at the other direction, shall we? So we've got a similar sort of look over here. We've got rocks and sky. And 62 frames a second. GPU is 80%. So in principle, you could expect it to do a bit better. It's Prologue Go Wayback is a really hardcore survival game. This is early access. Oh, I should have said this is early access. That's actually pretty good performance, you know? I mean, that's actually... I mean, I would expect better, to be honest. 1080p? But this isn't bad. I'm going to hazard a guess and say the reason for this is because of lack of trees. And I can't hear my own game. Yeah. Apparently there is background noise, but let's oh yeah, now I can hear myself. Let's go and have a look at some trees. This is a nice... This reminds me of Scotland. Yeah. Performance is pretty good. Now bear in mind, this is a 9070. So if you were running, say, a 7800, you would probably drop 10 to 15 frames a second at a rough guess. So here we are amongst trees taking up the view. We're still running at 60 frames a second. If I had a limiter on, you would not probably notice. Much busier scene. Okay. That's not so bad, to be honest with you. Let's have a look this way. Yeah, and you can see that the improvement looking in the opposite direction. So it works. Now I think they've had a couple of updates since, but I don't remember anything about graphics in there. Okay, we are seeing something of a drop as the scene gets busier, but still, that's better than I expected. And the GPU is not maxed out. No, I typically use the in-game frame rate cap. Most games have it. Most games have an option to use VSync, which allows you to, and if you change the frequency of your display, then you'll also change your frame rate. So I've got, what was it? When I was playing Wintermute, I used to set the refresh rate of the screen down to control the frame rate so that I wasn't running with ridiculous speeds. But this is actually working quite nicely, it has to be said. Can't remember where the Wayback is, but yeah, it's hard on my neck looking up like this. I probably ought to just face over this way and look at my preview. But yeah, this is quite acceptable, to be honest. I mean, unless you want absolutely screaming frame rates, this is a lot better than I expected, I'll be honest. But I think part of it is due to the landscape we found ourselves in. I suspect if we were in the middle of dense woodland, I would not get this kind of performance. Or if we had one of those flooded screens, I don't think that would work as well. Can't find the hut. But I do like this. I mean, I've this does remind me a bit of the Highlands of Scotland. I'm not sure if it is, but yeah, it's not all over the place. It's not stressing the GPU. I say it's not stressing. It's not running at 100% at any rate. So if you are a 1080p gamer and you have A 7800 would probably run this quite nicely. I don't know about something like, say, a 7600. I've never really been in a position to do frame rate comparisons between a 7600 and a 9070. And I can't remember the performance difference between a 76 and a 78. Don't ask me about Intel GPUs, I don't know. I haven't run an Intel GPU on this system at all, mainly because I run Linux, and Linux does not support. Sorry, and there isn't good support for NVIDIA. Not Intel, NVIDIA, I'm sorry, I should have said, yeah. 9070 is a 9070 XT is roughly equivalent, apparently, to a 5070, just to give you some idea. But this isn't bad. Again, you do have this thing, look one direction and your frame rate drops dramatically. We saw that in the hut. Very amusing. Hopefully one day they'll get that sorted. And this looks like a stream. Or a dry bed. Or mud. Yep, it's mud. And now we get to slog through the mud. And like I said, this is set with everything set to max. Now the thing is, if I ran this on my main monitor and then upscaled it, it would not do this. At least it didn't last time I tried it. Yeah, this is all right. With this particular seed, I should hasten to add. We don't have weather effects either. I would expect performance to drop substantially with weather effects. Perhaps we'll get lucky and it'll start raining. Oh, my weekend's going okay. This was completely unplanned. I did stream Warframe last night, and I will almost certainly stream it again this evening. But as I say, it's the weekend, and I reserve the right to not have a schedule for the weekend and just do random stuff like this if I feel like it. But yeah, I've started taking the at least the weekend mornings off, rather than try and stick to 3 streams a day, 7 days a week. How are you doing, Suda? How's work / study? Okay, what's going to be interesting here is if I get a different landscape with more trees. But for this, at least, this is pretty good, and I am pretty much maxed out at 85% on the GPU. This monitor works fairly well for the purpose, actually. I'm not seeing any screen tearing. Ooh, that's interesting. My mouse isn't actually on... my mouse cursor is now not... Yeah, my mouse cursor is drifting. Very irritating. And this is typical. This is something I've seen before, where the rock's intruding into the building. Yeah, this is quite common. I hope this is not intended. I kind of don't like the idea that maybe somebody decided to build their hut around a rock. I'm pretty certain that's something to be fixed. So, okay, this isn't bad. However, let's try a different... Let's try a different seed, huh? How about that? So in order to do that, I have to exit the game and ignore the weird wallpaper display there. That's because I'm running 4 screens and I've got the wallpaper is designed for just 3. So what we'll try and do is let's restart. Now the problem is it's good chance it's not going to. Well, that sounds good. Yep, it's done it again. It's actually decided to default to my primary display, and which means I'm going to have to where's my let's blast. Give me a second here. Yeah, I'm just going to have to change this to, I'm doing stuff now. Let's change this to windowed. Nope. Yeah, you can't see what I'm doing here. Right, let's change that back to monitor 4. There we go. Yes, now let's change it back to borderless. Yes, okay. Let's start a new game. Let's see if we get something with a lot more woodland on. If we have a densely forested region, I use Linux Mint with the cinnamon front end. I'm sure purists will dislike that, but when this system was being built, I asked my son, who was the Linux expert, what he would recommend, and that's what he recommended. So that's what I've gone with. Yeah. Mint is based on Ubuntu. I think my son then switched to Arch, and now he runs Windows. So go figure. But I stick with what works for me. Right, so here we are again. This should be a different seed. Well, it's clearly a different view. Wow. We appear to be in... Yeah. That's... well, a bit of tearing there. Aha, here we go. Yep, now we're on a different seed. And look at the frame rate tank. There we go. Yeah. All right, frame rates dropped quite considerably on this particular one. I mean, that is quite a nice scene. Void Linux. I don't know Void Linux. So now we have determined, sort of, in a very haphazard fashion, that the seed you run in will make a difference in your performance. And it's curiously, though, and this is curious, the GPU utilization is exactly the same. It is running at maximum 85% of the GPU, which is interesting. And there we go, it's climbing again. So it is important to notice I do have frame generation on. I have FSR on. So it is interesting. Look at this. This is climbing up to over 100 frames a second, simply because I changed the direction I was looking in. One would hope so if I look this way, I get almost double the frame rate as if I look this way. And yet GPU utilization is the same. Weird. So this in a way sort of confirms that the scenes we were looking at last time, where we had a lot of water, really did affect performance quite sensibly. Yeah. So we're almost at 60 there, but over here we get, what, 110? As it slowly climbs. Let's try something. Let's switch off frame generation. Oops. And the sharpener. And the upscaler. Okay, let's see whether that has any effect. So now we don't have frame generation on. And yeah, that makes a huge difference, doesn't it? Yes, okay. So frame generation gives you, wow, a lot of benefit. Honestly, for this kind of game, frame generation is just fine. Because this isn't going to be depending on latency or how fast it takes to do things. But, yeah. So, question. For whatever... No, this was frame generation. Yeah. I think I said I was. I think I showed I was using frame generation. Makes a worthwhile difference. So now we are running at 1080p without frame generation. And we don't hit 60 frames a second. And the GPU is at 99%. Now you would get slightly better if I wasn't streaming. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, in fact, the encoding is not happy with me. Encoding is reporting it's too. Yeah, I'm now eating into my own performance for streaming. So if I wasn't streaming, I would get a bit better, but I don't know how much, to be honest with you. So the question becomes, can I get a decent frame rate by simply changing the preset? Let's go to high. So now we are at high settings. It's okay. Ish. Not a huge, honestly, it's not a huge amount difference. And the GPU is still at max, by the way. I haven't hit the limit of I've hit the it's absolutely maxed out. Oh, that was a weird shift. All right. So let's suppose we go down to medium. Okay, now we're hitting 60 frames a second, medium settings, even with what looks like incipient snow. And over this way, we're hitting into the 70s. Is that 80s? Yes, it is. All right. And this is 1080p, mark you. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So, without FSR, now, I imagine DLSS would do better, to be honest with you, if you had that. But and I am still the graphics card is still absolutely hammered, but I'm not getting warnings about my encoder, which means, yeah, it is a little bit better. Of course, typically what I would do is for this kind of monitor, I would actually switch on the frame rate cap so that the frame rate matches the refresh rate. I'm just having it maxed out so that we can actually see what the honest performance is. Okay, yeah, so like I said, this is on medium. It has to be said, well, no, it's... I have to say, if I were to look at it, when I talking about frame rates, I'm talking about what Steam is reporting. I'm assuming that is more or less accurate. It's not bad, I suppose. And Lucy is getting cold. So I think we can conclude that yes, different seeds are going to give you different frame rate issues. Having frame generation on is going to make a difference. How fast you move appears to make a difference. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of see what you mean, Pseudo. Just because something has a frame rate doesn't necessarily mean it's smooth. I mean, you can have games that run very smoothly at 30 frames a second. But again, this is early access. So I'm hoping there is more they can do to fix things. Yeah, let's stick. I don't know why it needs the upscaler. And now with FSR on, yeah, look at the huge difference. And GPU utilization has absolutely has dropped 15% by doing that. I don't know if I can tell that it looks any better, but yeah. This is a game that definitely benefits from having frame generation. Of course, if you look at the sky, I should absolutely skyrocket. Yep, if you look at the sky, I'm getting over 200 frames a second. It's, yeah. So, do I have a recommendation? I really don't know. Definitely want to run it at 1080p, I can tell you that much. Much better suited to that. Now there is probably some juggling available that might make things better. Hey Anna, how you doing? This isn't going to be a long stream. This is me fiddling around with Prologue Go Wayback, just seeing what kind of performance I can get on a genuine 1080p screen. That's why I keep looking up. Yeah, how is your weekend going? I am curious about something though. Let's try something a little more interesting. If I hang on, you can't see what I'm doing here. I'm going to switch it to a different monitor. Move to monitor, which is my main screen. Oh, it's monitor 4. Okay. What? You're kidding me. Okay. Apparently that's monitor 1. Alright, let's switch this to... Oh, according to that, it's monitor 4. Nope, wrong one. What it says and what it actually is. Nope, that's the wrong one. Grief, you stupid thing. Sorry, excuse me a second. We now have technical problems. Why is it not doing this? Okay, I'm going to have to do something imaginative. Just continue looking at the blank screen for a while. Right, there we go. Let's move this to... So what I'm going to do here is, and you can't tell what I'm doing, I'm going to switch off video capture and switch on window capture. So this is windowed 1080p. And I'm curious to see if it makes a difference. It should look the same to everybody. So this is windowed mode on a much larger screen. And rather surprisingly, performance is better. Why is performance better running in windowed mode? Now, that is truly weird. Oh, it's not much better. How peculiar. Yeah, with OBS, I have the option. I can actually capture an entire screen, or I can capture a window. So, and in fact, I see I've lost my video. Why have I lost video? Oh, hang on a second. I switched off video capture. Here we go. Hello again. Ah, there we go. My apologies. Sorry. I set this up this morning, and I obviously did not consider all possibilities when I was naming stuff. My bad. So does it make much difference whether you run in windowed mode on a big screen? Not necessarily. Oh, that's interesting. GPU utilization is down to 82%. All right. I'm going to have to conclude for the moment that graphics in this game are weird. Danny! Hello, Danny! Oh, this is really weird. Look at this. 160, 170 frames a second? I wasn't getting that when running on a... Yeah. It's official. Graphics on this are peculiar. 170 frames a second if I look outside that way. And go look out the opposite direction and I get... half the frame rate. How very peculiar. Alright, so the simple answer is at 1080p with a relatively powerful graphics card, you can get halfway decent performance from this thing if your seed works well. That's a huge if. Oh, of course it's going dark as well. That would actually make things better. My bad. So, yeah. That's why the frame rate started improving. It's because it's dark outside. Yeah, that's why it is. Okay, let's exit that, and we will try again. What we're going to do is same thing. Hang on. There we go. Let's rerun that, try a different seed. Again, windowed mode. It seems then that I didn't really need to go to the effort of hooking up my Hannspree to my fourth GPU outlet. This is actually easier. I did wonder whether there would be a difference between running the game full screen on a monitor or running the game windowed. I'm going to hazard a guess and say it doesn't make a huge difference. So for our purposes, I don't need to use the Hannspree, which is kind of nice. Yeah, because this was starting to put a crick in my neck. So let's start a new game, see how this behaves. Is it possible for brownies to be disappointing? That's actually a silly question. Of course it's possible. Actually, do you know what else I could do? Hang on a second. I could... You can't see me doing this. I hope. No, you can't. I am going to switch that off. Oh, that's interesting. The monitor comes up as a Hannstar Display Corporation 26-inch. It isn't. It's a Hannspree 40-inch, but okay, I'm going to switch that off. Apply. Keep changes. Okay, so that big monitor is now switched off, which is good. Incidentally, if you run multiple screens, you do get a performance hit. Not a huge one. I've never yet done a sort of comparison, but I think Linus Tech Tips once did a comparison of the performance you get with multiple monitors. I wouldn't be surprised if running 4 monitors like that hit me by as much as between 5 and 10% of my GPU performance. So here we go, different screen. This looks smoother. You know? Oh, we have nice particle effects to look at. 112 frames a second. 120. So it is going to... Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah. This is going to depend on very much on the seed you're in. I still think it's weird that you look in one direction and you get a far better display rate than if you look in the other direction. And it seems to be regardless of what the scene... Oh, I don't know, though. This seems to have stabilized. I mean, this is pretty good. 117, 120 that way. This monitor, by the way, has 180 hertz refresh rate, so... It does seem... Yeah, how peculiar. Let's set ourselves back up to Epic. And I do have FSR on. Okay, see what that does. So this is Epic. Apparently, GPU is down to 90%, 91. Is climbing a bit. Not too bad. Encoder is not kicking in. So, yeah. Frame rates. And if I face this way, oh my goodness, look at that. We drop down to half the frame rate by facing the other direction. Ignore the funny weather effects. I have a suspicion that I don't know whether these weather effects occur on a Windows system. I have a suspicion it's because of Proton or because of my Vulkan drivers that I have to use on Linux. But that is really... Yeah, you know what? It looks smoother even at 55 odd. So I'm going to guess that the screen response time is partly responsible for how it was performing. Like I say, this monitor I've got that I was playing on is not intended for gaming. It's fine for YouTube and movies, but for gaming, no, not really. So we've got the same basic performance. Yeah, 50 odd in that direction. Climbing up to nearly double the frame rate just by changing the direction you look at. And I know that I'm going to harp on that endlessly. So unless you have a honking 5080, 5090, you're really going to have to chop your graphics down if you want to get 60 frames a second. I mean, the 9070 is no slouch. It's not even the most powerful AMD graphics card you can get. I think if I had an overclocked XT version of this card, I'd probably get another 15-20% performance. So yeah, that would be all right at 1080p. I should hasten to add. At 1440p widescreen, I don't think I would get this. So I don't know about what conclusions, if any, I can come to about this. My conclusion so far is the graphics do need work. I'm going to assume that the difference in frame rates is not actually due to the compatibility layer. I am going to assume that the funny weather effects are due to the compatibility layer. But I don't know. I have not seen this running under Windows. Hey, Tony. Oh, gang's all here. Did you all get notifications? Because I didn't. Yeah. Oh, good. All right. That is good to know. Maybe it's just me. This I normally get my phone normally gives me a notification. Oh, okay. Oh dear. YouTube notifications have been weird lately. I didn't get a notification. Normally, my phone beeps at me when I go live. That's a little. That's how I know it. I at least got a notification. Different account. Um, but just lately, it's been variable. Most of this week, I never got notified, so I have to wonder how many people did. I am running an Epic, aren't I? Yes, I am. Everything maxed. Do not use motion blur. It looks terrible on this thing. But yeah. So if you are running a 1080p system, you do want FSR. Absolutely, you do. Whether you want anti-aliasing or not is up to you. But FSR makes a significant and worthwhile difference on this thing. Well, not sure what to do next, to be honest. I suppose I could try and play the game, but I'm actually somewhat distracted by the weird performance on this thing. This is Prologue Go Wayback. It is a hardcore survival game, which the intent of which is basically to survive crossing the map from where you are to safety. That's what it is. It is uncompromising and difficult, and I've yet to put some serious effort into actually playing the game. All I've done so far is reaction videos, and in this case, let's look and see what I can do for most people's monitors, which is 1080p. Even though this is not streaming at 1080p, what you're seeing is actually this is my usual streaming resolution, but that window that you're looking at, the game window there, trust me, is 1080p. It's just been expanded for the purpose of OBS so that I can fit everything in, so to speak. Right. Well, I'm not going to just run off and abandon you. I'm actually going to take a quick break, and I will be back in a couple of minutes. So relax and rehydrate. Now, given that you're all here, I am disinclined to cut everybody off. Oh, I am very flattered. Let's try a different. Let's try and see what happens if we have free roam. Now, free roam is kind of what broke it last time. After the free roam mode I went into, where we had the flooded forest, everything stayed flooded after that. So let's see how that behaves. Yeah, like I said, in order to get this sort of behaving, normally I had to uninstall, reinstall, fiddle with the Proton settings because it didn't like the compatibility I was using. So, yeah. To say this game is rough around the edges is putting it slightly mildly. I must admit, this is using Unreal Engine 5, I think. I hope that this isn't an indication of problems with the Unreal Engine 5. I don't think I've got any games which use Unreal Engine 5 apart from this one. Oh, Aloft might. Aloft had some weird had some odd behaviors. So this is free roam. And it's raining. Oh, yes. Oh, it doesn't look... Actually, it has... Okay. Actually, that doesn't look too bad as... Oh, it's hail. Of course it's hail. It sounds like hail. Yeah. Okay. Now we're talking. Okay. 47 frames a second. That's with FSR on, I should hasten to add. Let's, yeah, that's interesting. Let's switch back down to our medium settings. Yeah, there's no point in enabling that. Yes, I do want to keep them. Okay. All right, and we're back to better settings. So this is medium. GPU is at 82%. This is the slow direction. That's not too bad. You could lock the... I think it is at any rate. Yeah. Okay, that weather effect isn't too bad, to be honest. That kind of works. Oh, wow. Yeah. The interesting thing is, let me Alt-Tab off the screen. I'll leave you looking at hail. I'm going to take a quick look at the store, and I'm going to look up Prologue Go Wayback and have a look at what the recommendations are. I know I mentioned this last time. Alright. It recommends an NVIDIA RTX 2080 or 3070. Now, I can tell you right now, my 9070 is significantly better than that. Now, it's possible, by the way, that the game is better suited for NVIDIA. There are games out there which favor AMD graphics cards over NVIDIA and vice versa. Although I'm not an expert, I just know that that's the case. So, but looking, that's an... I'm going to have to say their recommended is optimistic. A 2080 or a 3070? I mean, I'm assuming that means if you're running at low settings. Their low-end recommendation is a 1070. I don't know that that would work very well. I really don't. And I think it started raining now, hasn't it? Yeah. Yeah. I do. I have one. I did a Minecraft ASMR featuring just rain sounds. Problem is, I can't set the weather. But I have considered doing an ASMR video featuring this game, just because some of the scenes are nice. That rain looks a little weird, but it's not too bad, to be honest. I think last time I was running this, the rain looked quite a bit worse. Well, that's one of the reasons I do ASMR videos. It helps me sleep, and I know there are people out there who like it. That's a lot of mud. On occasion, when I was experimenting with this thing, I had situations where I'd spawn in. Unfortunately, I can't guarantee rain. Now, I've had versions of this game where the hut was flooded. Literally, the scene you're looking at there was flooded to within about the height of the mantelpiece there, and sloping, and obviously having issues. The thing is, I think there is supposed to be weather settings that you can do for this, but what am I running at? I'm running at medium, aren't I? Yes, I am. This is not going to work on Epic. Well, it is, but it's just not going to work very well. Oh, that looks weirder. Oh, that looks strange now. That does not look like rain, really, does it? At least not my view, not my vision of rain. Yeah, that's... Yes, and once again, we've got that whole thing. If I look this way, I get twice the frame rate of looking the other way. How peculiar. And yet the GPU utilization is exactly the, or is almost exactly the same. Very weird. Yeah. But again, it looked better if I set this down to medium. Maybe not. No, I think my Minecraft rainy day scene looks better than this in terms of rain. Not in terms of the environment, but still. I might stream this later, just for the fun of it. Live stream it, I mean. As an ASMR. At... I could probably do it at this resolution, now that I think about it. Get the performance. Yeah, so much for that. Ah. Oh, happy birthday, Tony. Oh, this is really peculiar. it's frame locked it up. It's ignoring the frame rate cap. Oh boy, I probably have to restart the game. That's new. How very strange. Yeah. Please, gentlemen. Oh dear. Well, happy birthday for tomorrow, Tony. How young are you tomorrow? You don't have to tell us. Yep. This is low settings, by the way. And it's locked itself at 120 frames a second. How peculiar. Yeah, it doesn't seem to make much difference. You would, if I were to stream this with the rain, you would want a scene like this. Actually, that would work moderately well. Because the 36. Oh my goodness. Oh. Oh wow! This would make fantastic ASMR. I wish you could enter I wish you could enter a seed into this. I want this seed. Because you know that sooner or later people are going to try and want to speed run this thing. You know, I may very well do an ASMR video of just of this later. Let me try something. I'm curious. I am definitely curious. If I, and I'm sorry to take that away from you, if I play and continue, do I get the same scene back? That's going to be an interesting one. So yes, if I hit continue, does it continue with the game mode? Or does it... I should have made a note of the seed ID. Yes, it does. Look at that. All right. I may very well do an ASMR later, just of this. If everybody would like that, I think I will do that. So I'll probably set that up in a few hours. The problem is, the more I run this, the more likely the weather is to change. Yeah, I can't guarantee the weather, but at least we can leave it and see what happens. Which means I'm going to have to stop this now so I can run this later. Because now I've got to try and figure out the setup for it so that we can get this back. Actually, let me think. Let me try something here. Alright, I'm actually going to switch over to my normal game mode. From this, which means this is my normal game mode. This is actually very similar to what I use for doing ASMR type videos. Let's have a quick run of this. I'll run it up at full screen and see how it works. And if it looks all right, let's go to settings, and now we are going to go to 3440 by 1440, borderless, apply. Yeah, there we go. And go back. And hit continue. See what we get. Yeah, when I stream this as ASMR, you're basically getting that screen on the left, but it's maximized. You don't get my pretty face and you don't get chat. Oh, look at that. Seventy odd frames a second. This game does not scale very well, it has to be said. All right, yeah, this is definitely something I can run later. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to stop this now so I can run it later. Let me just change some settings here. Let's see if we run this as medium. Oops. Yeah. That's okay. Huh. Yeah, okay. I'll set this up and run it this afternoon for everybody's snoozing benefit. I wonder which view is best. There. Okay, it's official. I don't want to be facing that way. I want to be facing the other way. Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you what, we'll... Something like that okay for everybody? I think that'll work. Yeah. Okay, that means, though, I have to bring this to an end so that I can start this off at least from where we are. Hopefully I can just start it up and leave it running later. So I will schedule that for about 3 or so hours from now, because I will typically... Oh, hang on a second. Yeah. Okay. I will probably schedule this at the last minute, because I'm not entirely certain what time I can start it. Because a friend of mine hopefully will be coming online to play Sky, and I almost always accompany her. So if I start this around about 2:30, 3 o'clock, that might work. Is that okay with everybody? And I'll just start the stream, basically. All right. You have yourselves a deal. And I'll use these settings. Oh, you're very welcome. I am honestly quite surprised everybody showed up. I didn't know that everybody was people. Some were going to get notifications, or some people would just be on YouTube and I'd pop up. But all right. Well, like I say, the rest of you, all of you, have a good day. Rest of it, and I'll run this later. It was good to see you all. Can't remember what I was going to say. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, just in case anybody's interested, Sudo, I'll be running Warframe this evening. I'm grinding towards a Bone Widow. I got a Void Rig. I've got the Void Rig up to level 40, and now I want a Bone Widow. But that's going to take me a while. I've got most of the parts. All right. Yep. I will see you all soon, or you will see this live stream soon. Yeah, okay, I've just run out of patter. I'm going to go and get some lunch. See you all next time.